Hello artists! Today I'm going to teach you how to make salt dough sculptures. So, before we begin, it is important that you get permission from your family before you start this art project. It's important that you get permission because you're going to be working in the kitchen, it can be messy, and you're going to be using ingredients from your pantry that they may not want you to use. So you must get permission before you begin. Also, to finish these sculptures, you'll need to put them in the oven. So you need to have permission and help. You may not use the oven by yourself. You need help when it's time to put your sculpture in the oven. So, after you're certain you have permission, you will need 1 cup of flour, a 1/4 cup of salt, and a 1/2 cup of water. Put the flour and the salt in a bowl together and give those a little stir, and then slowly add the 1/2 cup of water. You're going to mix those and maybe use your hands to knead the dough together until you have a nice, soft, consistent dough. Alright, I'm going to start by showing you how to make that adorable garden gnome. So I have here about half of my dough, and then you can see I just cut off about maybe 1/3 of that dough. So, I started with the half of the total amount and then I cut off about 1/3. I'm going to roll it into a sphere, which is a 3-dimensional form. From the sphere, I'm flattening it in the palm of my hands, and I'm flattening that sphere into a 2-dimensional shape, a circle. After I make the circle, I'm going to sort of push the sides and sculpt my circle into a shape that's a little more triangular. It's kind of a raindrop or maybe like a candy corn shape. So these are shapes now. We've gone from a 3-dimensional form to more of a shape because it's pretty flat. It's about as thick as my finger. Okay, so now you're going to start using that extra bit of clay, that 1/3 of the clay that we cut off at the beginning. You're going to use that to roll coils. A coil is like a small rope of clay that I roll between my fingers. And you'll also be creating small spheres that you can use for decoration and to create different parts of your sculpture. So start by making all the different parts that you would like. So I had a coil and then I'm sculpting it into what's going to be the beard of my gnome. I have a little sphere and I'm flattening it with my finger to make the eyes. You'll notice right now I'm just setting them in place. I'm not really trying to attach them yet. I'm just sort of planning out my little garden gnome. Once you have all the important features created, you're actually going to remove them very carefully. And now you will reattach them using a little water on the salt dough. The water acts like a glue, and it's important to use a little water so that the different pieces that you've sculpted fully stick. You can also use different kitchen tools or things you have around the house to carve texture into the surface of your sculpture. So I'm using kind of a little kitchen knife to make some texture on the beard, and I used a little stick to make the center of the eyes, maybe some buttons on his little jacket. Now, if you aren't feeling the garden gnome, here's another option. You can make a cute little bird. Really, you can make anything you want using the coils and the spheres as your base for your sculpture. Okay, here's another part where you must have parent permission. When you're finished, you're going to bake these in an oven on a cookie sheet at 250 degrees for about 1 whole hour. It takes a long time for them to really dry out and bake. When they come out of the oven, they might still be a little bit soft, but they will slowly dry out and harden as they sit at room temperature. After your sculptures have baked, they can be painted. You can use craft paint, like craft acrylic paint, or you can use tempera paint. Really, the only paint you can't use is watercolor because you don't want your sculptures to get very wet. I hope you have fun sculpting at home, and I can't wait to see what you make.